All right, now we are recording. I don't know if anything will ever happen with this. I'm not even doing an intro. Doesn't matter.
Awesome. Well, maybe we can just pick up on what we were just talking about. I
Yeah.
mean, I think what you're describing as a capacity for nuance that I find like starkly lacking in, I don't even know, 90 to 99% of people that I
Yeah.
talk to about anything. So yeah, it's very, I don't know, it's more, it feels not just more and more apparent that that's the case, it feels more and more kind of painful that that's
Mm-hmm.
the case. Um, like I feel a almost physical uh, intolerant, like an allergy to the world around me because of this fact becoming more and more clear. And I don't, um, I mean, I try, sometimes I fail to not shout at people, and I've said this before in different places, but to not shout at people and try and get them to see things my way, or to just like have the capacity for nuance I deeply wish they did, especially people I love. I don't think that you can shout that into somebody, but it's almost, it feels like a different, like we're different animals. I keep having
Yeah.
this sense like I'm talking to
Yeah.
a different animal.
Yeah. It feels like a
Yeah.
totally different species. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
and then I don't know if you feel so I feel that exact same way. Which is why um Rilke has always been an author that I've loved so much because he talks
Mm.
about solitude. Like a lot of the quotes that I most love,
Mhm.
and even like a lot of the philosophy I like, and Peter Rollins and different things, is because it's like there are these quotes and things which are basically like, you will never be understood, or like
Yeah.
Rilke talks a lot about
Mhm.
solitude, and like the
Mhm.
thing that you're always looking for, like you're never gonna find, like even when you
Yeah.
think you find it, it gets pulled away from you.
Mhm.
You're like, oh no, now I'll have it. Like even talking to you, I'm like, oh no, Wambui gets it, and like we're close.
Mhm.
But then like if we got to know each other enough, at some point, the kind of
Oh,
intimacy and depth that you're
100%.
looking for would disappear,
Yeah,
and you'd be like,
100%.
shit, I
Mhm.
thought I had it.
Yeah.
And that thing is just inevitable. So like one of the ways that I've learned to cope with this, and I don't even see copes as like negative. Like I've learned to think
Mhm.
of them as like guardian angels protecting us from something we're just not
Yeah.
ready for.
Mhm.
But is that because like even with my wife, really, like we are so different. Like the
Mhm.
ways that my mind works and the thing that you're talking about and the kind of conversations I want to have, I can't have with my wife. So that part of me that
Mhm.
seems like so deeply who I am, like it's the stuff
Yeah.
that I get online and why I feel can seem manic and high energy because like I'm
Yeah.
just getting it all out.
Yeah.
I don't really have in my
Yeah.
marriage or in my local life that much. And it's and she's the person I love the most in the world and in ways knows me the most out of anyone, but yet that part of me she doesn't really get, although she has slowly over time.
Yeah.
And um it's an
And there's
interesting
probably like
thing.
a there's probably like
No,
a necessary complementarity
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
like that's the reason it works also, but also it can be very lonely too. I mean, my uh I wouldn't say it's exactly the same situation, but yeah, um there's ways that we're exactly the same and there's ways that we're completely on different
yeah,
planets about certain things, and
yeah,
there is no reaching across. Almost it just leads to fighting and distress to try and um so for example, and this is kind of a different example and a little, I don't know, I used to feel a little sheepish about talking about this, but I don't care anymore. I actually think it's really important. So I've been obsessed with um, the investigation into who killed Charlie Kirk, which is like
okay,
it's such a deep, endless rabbit hole. But like from the moment that, um, and like Candace Owens and, a
hmm,
lot of discredited people who are very fixated on this one thing, because I don't think it's about that at all. I think it's about way more than that.
yeah,
But there's this whole network. It's kind of TLC like in not quite, but a little. There's like a distributed network of people who all have channels, and some are big and some are small, and every day there's all of us on a live stream trying to like solve this mystery. But it sounds so silly on the surface. But I really think it's about a lot of people waking up to, and this is just the nexus, like this is just the event that happened to catalyze,
Yeah.
and that every one of these people is congregating around.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, like, okay, just how much is it all fake? Like, just how much are we being lied to all the time? And
Yep.
if we can understand how much we've been lied to in this one instance, that will break open a whole, and I don't even want to say can of worms, it's way bigger than that. It's like an understanding and an awareness of what the nature of what we call reality is like.
Right. Can of worms
Yeah,
is probably the right illustration
yeah.
symbolically, or
Mhm.
like Pandora's box, or but see, even like what we were talking about before we started recording. So I thought of this Simone Weil quote, which I thought you would like because
Mhm.
this is one of
I
my
love that.
copes.
Yeah.
But also just to finish the first thought is uh but this is one of my hopes. Like this is the seed, the hope, the potential that is found in death and renewal, like what we're talking about with the collapse of whatever's happening. Because like one of the books that changed my life, probably the two biggest ones are the Space Trilogy and then George MacDonald's Lilith. And the Lilith quote that I always like, if you've watched any of my streams that much, you've probably heard me talk about it.
Mhm.
But one of the key, I won't say the whole thing, but one of the key parts in it is like, um, he talks about like people don't really understand things. They only think they understand things because they're familiar with them and they have unavoidable relations to them. So like this
Mhm.
cup, and if you really think about it philosophically, like you don't know what anything is. Like what
Mhm.
is this cup? Well, like any way that you break it down, it will collapse into an infinite
Yeah.
regress. And so then McDonald says like you only think you understand it because they're familiar with because you're there they are and you have unavoidable
Yeah.
relations. But he's like the fact is no man understands anything. And when he understands that, that is his first tottering step, not towards understanding, but towards the capacity of one day understanding. And
Mm.
like, I remember when I read that, I remember it was like a shot, like a lightning bolt. I was sitting in a coffee shop. I instantly started like sobbing
Mm.
because it was just like so resonant to me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, that's what I've always known.
Yeah.
And I feel like and I'm always trying to talk about it and communicate it. Like that's like all my live streams. I say all this stuff and
Mm.
people are like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And I'm just like, "Everything," you know.
Yeah.
So the Simone Weil quote, and then I'll shut up, is like,
Mm.
she says, two prisoners whose cells adjoin communicate with each other by knocking on the wall. The wall is the thing which separates them, but is also their means of communication. It is the
Mm.
same with us and God. Every separation is a link.
Oh God.
Like that's it. Like that's
Yeah,
everything.
that is it.
That's how everything is.
Yeah. And it really when I saw your stream, I think I watched it after it was done, but
Mm,
your stream yesterday, the things, but and obviously the Bon Iver song,
yeah.
because I've been obsessed, not obsessed, I don't know how to explain it. I'm a visual artist, and a lot of my work has words in it, like not necessarily readable, but whatever's in my head, I just scribble
Mhm.
onto the thing. Not for anybody else to be able to, whatever. Anyway, so many of them since that song came out have had that line in them, and it rings through my head like a mantra almost. Like I will wake up and just have it in my head.
Yeah.
Um,
I
because I
follow
really
him too, and when that came out, I was just like, "No way."
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, it's what I've been trying to, and I think I understand why you cried when because I mean, I don't know, when you got that understanding, because I think I don't know how to classify this type of person, and I've, there's like highly sensitive, there's neurodivergent, there's all of these words um, that have slightly different kind of intonations, but are
Mhm.
largely, and maybe there's degrees of, maybe there's further categorization within those, but
Yeah.
whatever. I just think like there's definitely, I run into a kind of person who would totally understand. Like, yeah, I spent my whole life deeply, like, feeling deeply alone in my knowing of certain things that
Yes.
I feared would make the people around me not just think I was weird, but reject me. And I think as a child, you actually have maybe that tribal instinct even more baked in, that if the tribe abandons me, then I'm gonna die. So I have to I have to play the game that the tribe is playing, and I have to make sure
Mm.
that they don't abandon me. So when I and it's been a lot through books and reading and like music and stuff, but um, this deeply held knowing that doesn't move, no matter how much you try and make it move. And like I feel like the older you get without it being recognized and seen, the more kind of, I don't know, like havoc it wreaks on your being in some way. Like I wouldn't be surprised if some of my illness and stuff has been just because I've tried to kill that one spark of knowing in me that is actually like the best, truest thing about me. It's my direct connection to God, something like that. It's very hard to explain, but
Yeah,
it's
no,
something like
I feel like I know exactly what you're talking about
that. Mhm.
because that's how I feel. I don't like I even one of the things I jokingly talk about in streams is like one of the things my dad always used to say to me is like because I grew up on a cattle ranch was like, "Who sired you,
Mhm.
boy?" Like he always used to
Mhm.
be that. Like, where the hell did you come from? Like, what is
Mhm.
your because a way that I'm different than maybe you or you were describing is like well, this isn't totally true because I think
Mhm.
I had like really deep coping mechanisms probably until I was, around 25, married and with kids. Like
Mhm.
I got married, we had our first 2 kids probably, and then like that's about when I was reading the space trilogy and like I was telling you about and started thinking about
Mhm.
education. And we were in a place, we had just done this move and we were in this particular place where I had enough difference and change and different people and I'd moved out of certain silos and structures where like I was able to open up. Because my wife and I
Mhm.
were just talking about this the other day. Like I think I've always been this way, but because my family was the way that it was, and I'm so different than
Mhm.
both of my parents in a lot of ways, and just so really weird from where I grew up. Um, like it really doesn't make any sense. Like I grew up in rural Western South Dakota, like in the middle of nowhere, like
Mhm.
hyper conservative, no education, nobody cares about philosophy. Um, and I have really like fine particular tastes. Like I'm very, like
Right.
cosmopolitan European in certain ways. And they're just like, Who are you? Like you're such a
Yeah.
weirdo." And I think all of that was really repressed. It basically just came out in like really crass hedonism. Like it's that Viktor Frankl quote, like if you lack meaning or like the unknowing of yourself, you distract yourself with pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
And I think that was until like that point, and I had reestablished myself in a kind of renewal in my own nuclear family. And I was reading that Lewis book and my mind started coming alive. I think I kind of realized
Mm.
who I was and all of this, but it's so, yeah, it is so lonely. There's stuff I even learned through like my study of dialectical behavioral therapy. Like I heard someone say once where they said like because part of it is, are you familiar with
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 DBT, yeah.
yeah. So like I think yeah, we talked about this a little bit or
Mhm.
communicated about it. Is like so it's like the dialectic of radical acceptance and change. And
Mhm.
part of the radical acceptance is they said something like because what you don't accept you can't change.
Yeah.
That's part of like awareness even. You have to become aware of something and accept it to even do anything about it. Otherwise, it's
Right.
unconscious and it directs your life.
Mhm.
Um, and so and they said, like, if you grow up in an environment or with parents, for example,
Mhm.
that are so non-affirming, like everything you ever express and say is unaffirming, like, no,
Yeah.
that's wrong, no, that's crazy, no, that's whatever. They said it's almost like what Jordan Peterson says, it starts to parasitize, or like Dostoevsky, like, above all, don't lie to yourself, because when you lie
Yeah.
to yourself, you poison your own apprehension for truth.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
But it's the same thing with the affirmation. Like, if everyone you're around all the time tells you you're wrong and what you're saying is a
Yeah.
lie,
Mm.
you lose your own. You're like, who? You don't even know who you are, and you have
Yeah.
to go into a deep cope to even survive.
Yeah. For sure. And I do think that in a kind of positive, I mean, this has been becoming clearer and clearer to me. Um, like it almost makes me want to cry how
We're gonna just end
deeply
this with both
yeah,
crying.
we're just gonna be a puddle of tears. Um, that there was whatever it is about me that just refused to let go of that thing when it would
Mhm.
have been so much easier to just be like, okay, everyone around me is saying I'm wrong. Um, and I'm just like desperately clinging on to this wrongness or ostensible wrongness. And I don't know, I still have it somehow now. And it's caused me all kinds of, it's this like precious treasure thing that I'm just like, whoa, how did I not lose that? And despite all of the chaos and pain and yeah, like you're talking about the hedonism. I mean, I've been an alcoholic and drug addict since I was 11 years old. I like that to me was an obvious cope for that state of being of feeling you said something like your family would say like, who are you, like mine was more like what are you, like what is this thing that was plopped into our family. And I've just been so stubbornly to a fault unwilling, even I didn't even know what was happening, but unwilling to let go of whatever it is. And I look at the days when I was just like so out of control and before I, got help with certain things. Um, it's easy to, on one hand, say, like I was just being irresponsible, or I had
Or
even saying
proud.
yeah, like, or I had a disorder, and I was told endless times, like, you're just not willing to be humble enough to submit to whatever the program or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, and I do
Yeah.
think it was a yeah, cope with a with positive connotation, but I think it's even more than that. I think it's like a because I okay, and sorry, like I'm always going off on tangents, and I don't know if I'll ever return to whatever I was talking about in the beginning, but I do think that dr- addiction or I think drug addicts are like trying to find God. I think drug
Canaries in a
addicts,
coal mine in an unhealthy world sometimes.
yeah, 100%. Um, and I just the older I get, and it oscillates. There's times I need to reach for more humility and recognize that I've been
Yeah.
very wrong and bad. And then there's times when I feel like, "Oh, I knew it." Like, I knew that that wasn't because there was something wrong with me or because I was misbehaving or sinning or whatever. Like, there was something correct in that impulse to do that thing or be that way. Um, and that that quote about there's no what is it? It's like there's no value in conforming to an insane world, something like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and especially with what's going on now, at least as I see it, I think that that's never been more true. And I
Yeah.
also see more people who opted to conform to the insane world kind of waking up to.
Mhm.
wait, was that the right thing? Like, why am I miserable? I have friends from high school and stuff who have like big, whatever, private equity jobs who I've spoken to and in like a real moment of vulnerability will say,
Mhm.
I just wish I had your life to like be an artist and not have, a schedule. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I make no money and I'm kind of, whatever. I don't know what I'm doing. But they're like, yeah, like what I would give to just not have to pretend all day long.
Yes.
And I think that there's something about me, and I don't know if you feel the same, that okay, yeah, I'll take some credit. And there were times when it was hard to hold on, but I was also never given the choice. Like there was no
Right.
alternative to that for me. For some
No.
reason, I just wasn't allowed to
Yep.
conform like that. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I've always felt the exact same way where it's like even some large equity firm or whatever, I could never do that job. Like
Mhm.
I wouldn't be able to. There's just like there's something in me, I don't know, like if I want to be I don't I'm careful. I want to be careful to not have some sort of
Mm,
false sense of humility. I'll say what it is, and I don't
yeah.
know, people can judge me if they want. I think
Mhm.
there's a kind of integrity that I've always had where I'm just like,
Mm,
I can't lie about this. Like I can't
mhm.
pretend it's okay. It's like even
Yeah.
that, like when you said like submit to the program, I've never been
Mhm.
able to submit to the program.
Mhm.
Any program. It's my
Yeah.
warring against it's like Paul Kingsnorth writes his book about Against the Machine. One of my favorite bands of all time is Rage Against the Machine.
Mhm.
Like that's my anarchism. That's my
Mhm.
I don't which to me isn't it's not rebellion. It's a rebellion of mammon. It's a rebellion of the
Mhm.
machine. It's a rebellion of
Mhm.
systems of fake authority that are really power. I've
Yeah.
never been able to do it. Like
Yeah.
even when I went to college, because I've even thought about sometimes my wife and I talk about I've thought about going back to school for philosophy or something because my undergrad was in chemistry because
Whoa.
um, I was thinking because I came from a small town with nothing, but I was like a bright kid, and so they're just like, "What do
Yeah.
you do? You go to like it's pre med or pre law? Like those are the only
Mhm.
options essentially for people that can get good test scores and grades." And so I was like, "Sure, okay." I had enough like coping, like in that
Mhm.
mode. I was just like, "Sure, I'll go and do something that makes money. Why not?" But then as I went through college and I was constantly dealing with because I've always been wired for the thing behind the thing. And so I would go
Yeah.
to do a test and I'd be like, why are we doing it this way? Or like, why do you want to do that? I'm like, this makes no
Yeah.
sense. I'm like, this
Mhm.
is dumb. Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And then people are just like, just get with the program. Like, what?
Yeah.
Why are you fighting everything all the time? I'm like,
Yeah.
because no one knows why we're doing this.
Yeah.
And like everyone's just following scripts and like no one else is awake. Like, what the hell
Yeah.
am I? Like, it's either there's a scene, I'll say this and I'll shut up, but like this is why I've
Mhm.
always loved Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet, like the old
Oh my
Leo
gosh, that was
DiCaprio
my
one.
favorite movie as a, like,
Yeah.
young person.
Like
Yeah.
I've watched it over and over and over. Like this is why I'll see like this is why people are like you're not gay or something is
Mhm.
weird. Cause like I grew up in rural Western South Dakota on a cattle ranch and I'm like, I love Romeo and Juliet. And people are like, what the
Mhm.
hell is wrong with you? But so like
Yeah.
I watch it all the time, but there's a scene. I actually think this is it's one of my favorite scenes in all cinema. But it's
Mhm.
related to this point of what I was talking about because I feel this way so much. So like when Romeo finds out that Tybalt killed Mercutio
Mhm.
and he like loses it and he's starting to fall with for Juliet at that time and he goes after him and there's a big car chase and there's the fountain and he chases him
Mhm.
up the fountain and he drops the gun and he picks up the gun and then he just like in rage just like shoots him
Mhm.
and then there's just this still shot. I'll probably cry a lot in all this because like these are things that just like get at my deepest
Good.
emotions
Uh-huh.
and um and you see there's just this still shot on Leonardo DiCaprio's face where he goes from just like absolute rage and vengeance to like sobriety to like a
Mhm.
realization of what that act did, and he goes through
Yeah.
like 3 or 4 emotions all in like one shot,
Mhm.
and I'm just like, that's like some of the best acting I've ever seen in my
Yeah.
life. But
Mhm.
but it's like, but there's a line that he says in it where he's just like, "You or I or both must go with him." Like, "You or I or both must go." And I'm like, I quote that all the time to my family because I feel that way, because I'm just like, and it's back to the whole thing. It's just like, am I crazy or are you crazy?
Yeah.
Like, there's no point in
Or is
conforming to a
everything
world
around
that's
me
nuts.
good?
Where I'm just like, what
Yeah.
is going on? Like,
Yeah.
either we have to start like talking about what's actually going
Yeah.
on, or I'm gonna burn the house down. Like, I
Yeah.
can't
Mhm.
stand this.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
I completely relate to that, and I do, I talked a bit on, I think, another person's, channel about this. But anyway, like rage. So I've always, well, I've been coming to grips, or trying to, with this very deep well of rage that I have in my being. And
I'm just gonna
the
write notes. There's so many things I have to share with
I'm
you
writing
as we're talking.
notes. And so it it became, well, okay, so I used to just drink a lot and then act in a way that was insane, and people around me would be like, "Whoa, where did that even come from? You become a whole different person."
Yeah.
And I was obviously just like ashamed of it for a long time, and kind of like, yeah, what happens to me? Like, I just should stop drinking because that's unacceptable behavior, blah, blah, blah. Like, all true to some degree. But then I started to become more curious about it. Like, then why? I truly don't think that anything just arises out of nowhere as some kind of, you know,
No,
punishment. Like, if that's in me, then like,
for
if
sure.
that's in me, then like, where is it coming from and what is it about?
Right.
And maybe the deep knowing inside me needed to find a way to express that thing. So I got super drunk, and actually I feel better afterwards. So sorry guys that you had to experience that, but also I know that it nothing is just bad, or some things are just bad or just good, but like that thing inside me that comes out, I don't feel comfortable labeling it as just, like, okay, bad behavior. We need to just suppress and make this bad behavior go away. Um, and so I became curious about it, and I initially was just looking a lot around, like feminine rage, and I have like I'm diagnosed with a condition called PMDD, which is like it's premenstrual dysphoric disorder, but it's like the like PMS, but on a whole other level.
I was like,
Like I
sounds
become
awesome.
no, like I become a demon for a few days a month, um, and as Autumn would say. So yeah, that was interesting because also I was then considering it's very tied to ADHD, like the rates of women who have PMDD and ADHD with women who have it with ADHD are way, way, way higher. So I was like,
Mhm.
oh, that's interesting too. And perhaps there is, the whole month where I think the word, well, you actually said when you were talking about studying chemistry and you had enough of like you were able to cope well enough to just do the thing you were supposed to do, blah blah blah. Like, and the word that came to mind was masking. So that's like a
Mhm.
neurodivergent term, obviously. But yeah, like what if the whole month I'm masking and I've spent my whole life building up the ability to do that, and then what if PMDD is just for 4 or 5 days? Oh, it's like more like 10, but whatever, 10 days a month. I I just don't have that anymore. I'm not able to mask. And
Yeah.
whatever comes out in that period of time is what I've been suppressing. And so
Yeah.
it's actually more useful for me to, rather than like, I used to take all kinds of psychiatric medication. I don't take anything anymore,
Mhm.
um, because the point of taking it was actually to just like hide, like put a blanket over these emotional states that actually, yeah, they were uncomfortable for me, but they were uncomfortable for me because they were so uncomfortable for everyone around me. And I was
Yeah.
constantly in a state of, I'm going to lose love and belonging if I express this thing that, to be honest, to me, it feels like peeing or something. Like, I'm not going to just hold it in so that you're not like annoyed. Like, I
Yeah.
just don't, never, that's never
Yeah.
made any sense to me. So, anyway, so I attached
Which
it
to
to that.
normies feels like
Yeah.
you're just self-justifying your insanity.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
like, but no one in their right mind would just wake up one day and choose to act the way I do when I'm in that period of time when I have PMDD. Like, I'm just like
Sure.
I'm screaming and stuff. So it
Yeah.
did make immediate sense for me to, not immediate, but to be curious about it. But anyway, so I attached it to like that female rage that's not just female, whatever, it's in me. And then I was like, but maybe I'm tapped into a deeper collective rage, which isn't necessarily gendered, but it's just this, no one feels rage, like no one expresses rage. So then all the rage goes into this big, it came to me like in a vision, like all this rage just goes into one big pool at the bottom of the world. And some people have the unfortunate job of having to dip in there once in a while
Mm-hmm.
and express it for everyone else who's completely
Mm-hmm.
unwilling to express it. And maybe I'm just, like because I'm sensitive or because I'm neurodivergent or whatever this type of person is, I just have more access, but it's not like involuntary access to this deep well of collective rage. And so sometimes I have to express it. And yeah, so like it's all those things. But it's also, I think, yeah, this is the point from what you were saying. It's also just, I think, a deep feeling that I've always had of like wrong, like this is wrong,
Mm-hmm.
something's wrong. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it's necessarily gendered, and I don't think it's necessarily like there are no lines between this is collective or this is individual or this is subjective or objective or male or female. I think the all of the denying of the wrong has to be counterbalanced by some people who can sense that. And maybe it wouldn't have to be so violent and such an outburst if I hadn't been masking for so long. But now that it just has, something's got to give. Like, there need to be people, and I do agree a lot with the canary in the coal mine analogy, that sometimes when I'm being crazy and shouting at people and trying to get them to understand something,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to say, like, it feels a little selfish sometimes. Like, you need to understand me so that I feel seen. Sometimes it's true. I'm a Leo. I'm very, very like solipsistic in a way. I only see the world through my own perspective. I don't even know how to do it any other way. But there is also a part of it that is, no, I actually care deeply for all of us. And if 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 you don't pay attention while it's happening to me, it's just going to happen to you eventually. And I've never been sophisticated or like good at articulating it to people in a way that they can understand, and maybe they just can't understand. But I think that that's the deeper, more universal part of it, is this outpouring of, it's all so wrong. Like, there's so much wrong. There's so much
Yeah.
that's not right. Like, the balance is off, and we are hurtling towards something more terrible than any of us
Yeah.
can explain. And I can
Yeah.
feel it already. So I'm trying to like let you know so that I can save
Yeah.
you. Yeah. Sorry. That was a lot of
No, that's so good. There's so many. This is all. It's such a good experiment for me, or it's a good exercise for me, like even TLC or live stream or these conversations, because especially when I'm talking to people who I think experience the world somewhat in the same way as me, like I'm so excited. And there's so many things that I have to say that, like, even writing notes is good, but it's otherwise I would interrupt constantly and you'd never
Yeah.
be able to get a thought out.
Yeah.
So like as you were talking about I relate to that so much. So there's a few things that um, I have a note of just music that I'm making that I want to share with you because
Oh, yeah,
I think I
please.
get a lot of my. I mean, we already talked about Bon Iver maybe before we were recording,
Mhm,
but
mhm,
most of my music, even before, like when I was talking about in my earlier, like fully masked coped days where I didn't even know
mhm,
who I was,
mhm.
like a lot of the music that I liked was like, oh, it was telling me. Like I
Yeah.
loved Rage Against the Machine. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
what, why? And it wasn't just some
Mhm.
weird teenage angsty thing. Like there's something very deep in there that resonates
Yeah.
with where I am. So one of the things I thought about as you were talking was, do you know like the phenomenon of like a rabbit, for example, or animals, like when they go through some sort of trauma, then they shake.
Like, yeah.
That's like a deeply we human beings need that too. It's
Yeah.
connected to like the body keeps the score, but we have this
Yeah.
weird ability psychologically to deal with things and cope using narratives and language
Yeah.
and stuff. But then we repress that, but like all that
Mhm.
energy is still
Yeah.
in there. Like what you were
It doesn't
talking
go
about,
anywhere.
like it's the
Mhm.
rage pool that's collective but also individual for you, and like
Yeah.
it can't just be repressed. Like
Yeah.
it will come out someone. Like no one gets
Mhm.
away with anything. It's that thing. Like
Yeah.
you can't just like pretend like it didn't happen. Like it will either come out in an outburst
Mhm.
or it will come out in, I don't know, cancer or something.
Yeah.
Like
Well, being a
something hap
psychopath, like, there's a
yes,
way that it comes out.
right, and it's not, and even as you were talking about it, like to some extent, it can feel like a I don't we both acknowledge that it can be just like a selfish kind of
Yeah.
toddler fit thing, but even for a toddler, it's like there's something they have to process, and it's like
Mhm.
there's this line from Clem Snide, who's one of my favorite musicians,
Mhm.
Eve Barsley. He actually I know he actually follows the corner a little bit, or at least PVK, but he has this song where he says, "To be blessed is to be cursed as well," and it's
Mhm.
just like the flip side of a thing.
Yeah.
Like what can feel like a curse of like these outbursts, like
Yeah.
it's kind of like my what everything is a gift if you receive it as a gift, like my little
Yeah.
Lukeism, because it's like that. If I think for those with eyes to see who are around you, who trust you and love you, even if there's maybe a bit of selfishness in it, everything that happens to you is a gift. It really is. Like God
Mhm.
is God. Like everything that's happening is a gift if you are aligned to it
Yeah.
properly. And so that's
Mhm.
another thing. And then related to this is it's another Luke bingo, but I love Cormac McCarthy.
Mhm.
And one of his quotes is like, which is related to everything we've been talking about, but he said, it's always himself that the coward betrays first. After that, all the betrayals come easily. And I'm just like,
100%.
son of a bitch. That's like my
Yeah.
whole life. Yes.
I know. Me too.
Um, and then part of my life too, I don't really like it now, but I had a phase of it, and sometimes I still like it. But like emo-y music, and people
Yeah.
make fun of me because I also whatever. I like emo music and boy bands also, Sue Me and Justin Bieber. But 'cause sometimes Bieber like has I love Bieber, well, that's an aside. Um, but there's a song from I think it's My Chemical Romance, but
Mhm.
it's like their biggest, most popular song, but the chorus is just like they just are like singing over and over like it's not okay.
Mhm.
It's not okay. And I'm just like,
Mhm. I
I
think
used
I
to
know the
love
song,
that
yeah.
song. But
Mhm.
I like didn't I was all but like that's the weird thing about my masking and my cope is I was always a relatively popular, gregarious, outgoing
Yeah.
kid who would like go out and party and do all these things, but like I was but there was part of me who was, like, deeply sad
Yeah.
because I was getting that
Mhm.
out through music and through partying and hedonism or
Yeah.
whatever, but I was always just, like I was so lonely. I was just, like, nobody
Yeah.
really like, whatever is in me, I don't even know it. I'm isolated from myself,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. It's almost like, so I went to boarding school when I was 11 until I was 18, which I don't know if any parents, like, are considering that it's just a terrible thing to put a child through at that age. It should be illegal.
Mm,
But anyway, I experienced a lot of homesickness. And so what you're describing is I was, deeply lonely and sad. I would describe it having a lot of intimacy with homesickness, like as
mhm,
homesickness. I was always homesick for, there's a book title I like called Homesick for Another World, but that's what it felt like. It felt like
mhm,
um, I was, I was homesick, and
mhm,
there was no amount of uh, like external pleasure or fun or masking that could take away that. I mean, it's kind of the same thing as the God-shaped hole, but it's also has a different nuance a little. That people describe feeling like an alien. Like I could look at a group of people having fun and join in the fun to some degree, but I always knew I wasn't in the same thing as them.
mhm.
I was kind of pretending. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's so interesting about that is like sometimes I'll talk to people like you or other people who I think had an earlier evolution of what I went through.
Hmm.
It's like I can't imagine. I'm so thankful for my masking in high school. Like
Yeah.
the kind of sorrow that
Mhm.
people have, like I can't who I am now, like if I just tried to plug my consciousness into my childhood and where I grew up, like I would have been so much more miserable. And like I was,
Mhm.
but it was hidden,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and
And
at
that's
least
not great, but
yeah, it's not ideal, but like we've said, the coping is actually your a self-protective mechanism. It's like a
it's the
great act
protection.
of
It's the mother of
self-love.
God brooding hen over you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great act of love from yourself and from God that you were able to develop ways to temporarily, like stem the bleed, whatever it's called, stem the bleeding, if that
Mhm.
is the word, um, to get through to the next bit. Like the fact that I'm still alive is in itself a miracle, and that wouldn't have been possible if hadn't have developed those um,
Right.
coping mechanisms for sure. But then there is the great work of undoing um, learnt patterns of behavior that
Yeah.
served you well at some point, and that can't be denied. I don't. I've done so many bad things that I'm embarrassed about, or ashamed about, or sad about, but like I don't regret them.
No,
I feel
no.
like they were necessary at that time, but then there does come another time when they're no longer useful that you have to
Yeah.
then reckon with them and adapt differently now. And the longer you've done the thing, the harder it is, obviously, to let it go. Like it can almost feel like for me, my hardest to let go of coping mechanisms, they feel like my friends. And it's like someone's telling me to uh, shoot my best friend in the head, basically. That's how
Yeah.
hard it feels to
Yeah.
just let go of that thing now. Even when you know you have to and you should, and it's the right thing to do now in this new stage of life, and like jump, and the wings will appear and God will catch you and all of this. I just feel like still it's very
Right.
heartbreaking, almost like a kind of grief to let go of the things that carried you up till this point, and the things that kind of loved you when no one else did, or held you when no one else did, and now you're just supposed to let go because now you're a grown up and it's not a good look.
Right.
It's like
Right.
crazy,
Uh,
yeah.
there's so many like abstract spiritual ways I want to take that because I'm getting all these images. Like in C.S. Lewis's The Great Divorce. I mean, this will
Mhm.
circle back to personal, but like there's a character. It's been a long time since I've read the book. I've read it a few times,
Mhm.
but probably could use a rereading. But there's a character who has like a second head
Mhm.
that they love and who, but like as part of their potential theosis or sanctification
Mhm.
or growth, like they know that that head needs to diminish and go away, but they don't,
Mhm.
but like it's a struggle, and they
Mm,
know that they don't want it to and it can't, but like so there's that whole dynamic, and
mm,
so it kind of is exactly like what you're talking about.
yeah.
And uh I feel like I had another image, but I forgot it.
It's okay. Oh, what was the thing I was about to say? Oh yeah, I meant to insert this in somewhere, but I can't remember exactly where. But generally, I think an overarching theme of our conversation has been, and maybe especially before we started recording, was about just the kind of um, like nuance and tension, and your the best thing about you will come with like the worst thing about you, and all of this kind of idea is, I've described so many things in the past few months to people as it's gonna be like riding a bicycle. Like I don't think it's ever gonna stop, like we want
Mm.
the the resolution to be final, and like you're gonna, whatever, I'll use my own example, like you're gonna stop drinking once and for all, and it's just gonna be clean cut, not clean cut and easy, but then that's it, then that's over, and it's just done. All my like rage stuff or whatever it is, and there's a like you'll work on it, and then you'll fix it, and then it'll be fixed, and then that's that on that. And I just, there's so many things in my life that I'm just like, no, I think it might be like riding a bike for my whole life. Like I'm just gonna keep trying my best and failing and saying the Jesus prayer like 450,000 times a day,
Yeah.
and repenting and like trying and messing up again. And it just, maybe lots of things in life are just like that. That it isn't the thing that stops us from getting where we're meant to be going, is this belief that it stops and then it's stationary. It's like, no, it's just going to be a constant
Right. Well, and
thing.
that's
Yeah.
a lot of my very favorite, like that's the whole Peter Rollins thing that I always talk about, is the libidinal pursuit of the lack. Because that's what you're
Mm,
talking about. The lack is the thing that promises to make you whole and complete, like the resolution.
mm,
Like this is
mm,
where it'll be done. And so
yeah.
because he's all his stuff is based in post-structural kind of Lacanian, but
Mm,
it's also like psychoanalysis. So it's like, so he'll talk about religion in psychoanalytic terms, and he's like, so if the lack is the thing that promises to make you whole and complete, to give you resolution, then he says actually what faith is
yeah.
psychoanalytically, and grace, actually grace is
Yeah.
the freedom from the libidinal pursuit of the lack. That thing. We're just like, if
Right.
this just happens, I'll be okay. If this just
Right.
happens, I'll be okay. Then it will be over. And he says grace
Yeah.
is actually the freedom from that, which I actually
Yeah.
think, like everybody, all the great mystics and theologians and stuff have talked about that. That's Gregory of Nyssa's like salvation is moving from a realm of having to being, because
Mm,
having is like the lack. That's what it is. It's like I got
right.
it. Like here it
Mhm.
is. I can control it. I'll plant my flag here. Versus being, which is the way that I think of being is actually very connected to that Simone Weil quote. It's the cell wall thing. And what you realize is like you're never free of the cell wall. All you do is just move
Mhm.
into another cell and there's another wall. Like you
Yeah.
think like, oh, like we've got it. We got the connection.
Mhm.
But then you just enter into another, that's like the spiral of theosis, and I think growth and becoming is that you, I actually think that's what salvation is. This is a little bit where like
Mm,
this is very practical. So it's not just like this abstract thing, but like the difference between divine simplicity and process theology is like, I don't think that theosis or salvation or union with God is becoming whole in like an absolute quantitative having resolution way. It's just
yeah.
like that process of alignment just becomes true, honed, like
Right.
plumbed, proper, where like you're okay. You're actually okay with
Yeah.
that process. And you trust
Yeah, and
God in
it's
it fully.
much more like a verb
Yeah.
than a noun. Yeah.
Yeah. Being. You actually are finally okay with being. Whereas like you're
Mm,
where like it's been a struggle.
mhm.
You've been
Yeah.
fighting it. You've been suffering your whole life.
Right.
And finally you're like, oh, not my will, but your will, you know,
Yeah.
like
And
it's
like
that.
sometimes your will involves, I don't know, all kinds of things that I believed at some point, that once I conform to God's will, all of these other things will go away. And I didn't realize that they're actually part of it. Like
Yeah.
they're actually part of God's will. That's
Right.
so
Well, and you
every
couldn't have
day.
gotten there otherwise.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there's a
And
line.
one,
Have you ever heard of the book Loris? Sorry.
no, no, oh, go on.
So there's, and I think this is true. Like a lot of people, when they go to Orthodoxy, or even when I was, or like there's inquirers or whatever, they'll say, like, what are books I should read? And people, the retort is
Mhm.
always like, go to services. Like it's not about
Yeah, yeah,
books. Like you have to experience
yeah.
it. But I would say, like, the book that I think most captures kind of the Orthodox mind way of seeing is probably this book, Loris. And
How do you spell how do you spell it?
Laurus. Um,
Uh,
so I'm trying to look. There's a okay.
I'm just gonna can I just go to the bathroom quickly? Be
Yeah.
right back.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think I can pause it, but just go ahead. We'll figure it out.
I was gonna try and mute, but anyway, yeah, I'll be right back.
Okay. Okay, we're back. So I found the quote. I just discovered recently that you can like search through your photos by keywords and things, and I'm like, oh, that's so much more helpful.
Yeah.
Um, so the book is about this guy. Um, his name is Loris, but he has many names throughout the book. And so this
Okay.
scene is toward because he basically lives all these different lives. And towards the end of his life, he's like having this vision. He's sitting around a fire, he's older, and he's like looking back. There's almost this resonance, like if you made a film or something, because the
Mm-hmm.
time in the book is pretty
Mm.
it's not even circular. It really, I think, even melds like the Chronos Kairos aspect of time
Okay.
really well. And so he's looking into this fire, and he like sees himself on the other side and through the fire from an earlier phase in life. And so there's this mirroring.
Mm.
And the quote is this, but it's connected to what we were just talking about. He said, "The tears cleansed his soul as well as his face. For the first time in his life, um, An Amarovsky, so like this is one of his other names,
Mm-hmm.
felt his soul was finding peace. His gradual sense that it was his gradual sense that he was finding that peace was born not from an overall reverence, parenthesis, his renown was greater than at any time before, in parenthesis, but also not from the indifference that seizes many worthy people as they near old age. His sense of peace was tied to a hope that strengthened ever more and more in himself that each day he lived in the monastery." And this is the sentence. "He no longer doubted the correctness of his path. He was satisfied that he was walking the only possible path."
Mm-hmm.
And like I say this kind of stuff to people. Like I've quoted this
Mm-hmm.
before in the TLC, and people
Mm-hmm.
are like, "Oh, you're a Calvinist or you're a determinist." I'm like, no, no, that's not what he's talking about at all.
Yeah, that's not the
He's
point at all.
he's just saying it couldn't, like, where I am could not have come any other
Yeah.
way. It's the
Yeah.
particular gifted constraints and circumstances that God has given me in a life that
Yeah.
make me who I am. They
Mm-hmm.
are the they are the Peugeot just actually had a video about this, about the void, but it's kind of about evil and bad.
Mm-hmm.
It is like the negative, not getting what I want. Um, it's the shadow moon side of all of my experiences
Yeah.
that are necessary to make me what I am.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be
100%.
the positive identity aspects of myself would not be
Yeah.
there without the negative.
Yeah. It's like not getting what I want, but more the more
Yes.
painful part for me has been like not being who I want so
Yeah, yeah.
much,
Yeah.
not being who I want, that it's someone said in a meeting I was at once when I did that, that the fastest way to humility is humiliation. And there was something like very poignant and resonant for me in, like I always think about it. This I want to be like at Jesus's feet, honestly, as much as possible. More that's the most thing I want. And so that will entail being humbled constantly, because in my previous frame, before I became Orthodox, before I became Christian, before I um, had a radical change of perspective, I really believed in a kind of linear progression of time, and progress in terms
Mm-hmm.
of myself looked like you read this self-help book, and then you do this modality of new age thing, and then you do this thing, and then you get better and better and better and better, and then you
Yeah.
never have to feel like this version of yourself again. And um, every time now that I'm humbled, as painful, there's nothing more painful for me. But when that moment arrives, it's like, okay, back here again, like back to the place where I have no choice but to rely on God so much that this is a place I couldn't have reached unless it was this bad, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful to be here again, but also like, oh, like this sucks and hurts so much. But
Yeah.
yeah, like what that's grace. I think that that's what grace kind of means. There's a actually a Flannery O'Connor quote. Let me find it because it was in my um this book I wrote that no one's ever going to read. But there's a quote that I used as part of it. So also Flannery O'Connor. I don't know if you've ever read. She had a book of. It's called a prayer book. It's really short. It's a book of prayers that she wrote when she was, I think, in college. And one of them that I always think about, it just says, "Make me a mystic immediately." But this quote says, all human nature, sorry, all human nature vigorously resists grace because grace changes us and the change is painful. And I do think that's been my most accurate. Whatever grace is, it's a really amorphous concept, but that kind of gets at something very real.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. It's the thing I was thinking about. Also, I'll do a caveat if we ever post this.
Mhm.
MJ, you're always talking to me about how I never talk about repentance, and the TLC isn't about repentance, and it's just trauma bonding groupthink. We're talking about repentance. This is what repentance is.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just
Really.
open up your ear balls, your ear holes. But to that point, like suffering, this makes me think of are you familiar with Father John Bear?
No.
He's probably like the most well-known living English-speaking Orthodox theologian, probably.
Mhm.
That I know of. I guess I shouldn't speak
Mhm.
that broadly, but he Sam Tiedemann, so like our Unitarian friend from the
Mhm.
TLC, has had him on his channel
Yeah.
a few times, and particularly his last time on there, he talks about his newest translation of some new Gregory of Nyssa work, but he talks about this really well, that like there's something about, even for Christ. So I'll go big and I'll zoom back into like the
Mhm.
suffering piece and the pain and the woundedness is there's something about the process of transformation and becoming, which he says is just like intrinsic to what it means to be human, even for Christ. Like
Mhm.
Christ learned to walk and fall down, and he was perfect. Like that, all of that, the falling and the failing and the scraping the knee. Like I can't even. Have you ever seen The Passion of the Christ?
I actually haven't, but I've been meaning to. For the last few days, it's been like nagging on me to watch
So
it. I
like
haven't.
it's so good, and I don't think this will ruin it for you, but there's a scene and
Mhm.
like I cry every time. I can't even
Mhm.
talk about it without crying. I'm just like there's a there's the scene where Jesus is carrying the cross and
Mhm.
Mary is like following him trying to see him, and and she catches a glimpse of him in this alleyway, and he stumbles and falls with the cross.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where like Mel Gibson is just like a brilliant filmmaker, and it flashes back in her mind to an image of him as a little boy falling. And I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, that's, I would lose it.
Yeah. And anyhow, but it's, as you were talking, I was thinking about the verse where it ends in like, by his wounds we are healed, you know.
Yeah.
But also coupled with like, we are filling up what's lacking in Christ's afflictions. And if you take, and if you really do take Christ as a universal particular, in which Jesus Christ was the historic full, like human particular with that, but then that radiates out fractally to Christ in me, to every Christian, then that's what filling up what's lacking in Christ's affliction. So like our wounds are what's healing us.
Yeah, like, and like every part of the Bible that is some variation of for my power is made perfect in weakness.
Yes.
It's exactly this thing. I think those are the parts of the Bible that have always like not just spoke to me the loudest, but kind of like sung out to me. There are parts that sing out to me. And that is definitely that idea. And I also don't hear it talked about much. Like, I don't hear many people, because I think it's a hard one to reckon with. I think it completely contradicts.
It's not a utopian gospel.
Yeah, that's like the myths that hold up the current world we live in, the current situation we live in. It's the opposite of that. And so either people read that and hear it and it helps them, but they don't talk about it, or I don't know. Sometimes I wonder how people, like, reading the Bible is just such a weird experience to me. It's really, I really thought it was one thing. I kind of thought it was, because I went to a school, well, for like, I got kicked out eventually, but anyway, the school I went to since I was 11, the boarding school, was actually a really, like, we went to chapel every day. It was an Anglican school, but we went to chapel every day. We had to learn Latin. Like, there was a lot of classical education aspects in it. And what was I talking about? The Bible. And I just thought of the Bible as this. When I became Christian, whatever that means, I thought the Bible is just like this thing I had to get through to like tick the box and be able to like wear the badge, kind of like the way that I read the Odyssey or whatever. Like, I just have to.
Yep.
And then I kind of did that way, not all of it, but a lot of it. And now I just get called to read certain parts for whatever reason. And I do feel like there's this, okay, this is such a weird example, but there's this scene. Have you seen Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, but like the movie?
Yeah, I'm sure I have. My kids made me watch all of them.
Maybe you don't remember, but so there's a scene where he has to open this egg. They're in this tournament and they have these clues that they have to decipher. So he has this egg and he can't figure out how to open it to get the clue. And then someone tells him to go take a bath. And then he goes into the bath and puts the egg under the water, and it suddenly like just opens and starts singing. And that was the only way to open it. And I don't know. But anyway, so when I read the Bible now, when I do, which isn't enough, but it feels like that. It feels like there are things behind things. Like, really, I don't even know really what the words meant before, but there's something happening. It's experiential. Like
Yes.
there's something
So
else on.
so what that makes me think of, the Bible is so like Ted S. There was this Arkansas group that had like a little event. It was very small in the TLC, but he has this
Mhm.
lecture which I often reference to people and say they should go watch. If I can send it to you after if I remember.
Mhm.
But he talks about this poem from is it Gerard Manley Butler? But in it he talks about, because poetry or the Bible or anything, it's polysemous, where like there's many meanings. It's full of
Yeah.
meaning. The
Mhm.
Bible is that kind of a book where
Mhm.
it's not giving you information. Like that's why the people who try to approach it like a scientific textbook,
Mhm.
it's not an information thing. It's a meaning
Mhm.
thing. And it
Yeah.
is like fecund with meaning. So like I often think
Yeah.
like Jesus the most. So like even St. Paul, people like St. Paul a lot and they'll go to St. Paul because they feel like it's more. St. Paul's the same way, but they feel like it's easier to track and follow like lines of thought. But
Mm.
Jesus is saying like the most condensed things you should say. Like
Right.
when you try to think about as a Christian how to be in the world but not of the world and how to relate to government, people will often go to like Romans 12 and what St. Paul said,
Yeah.
like submit to your earthly authorities. The most condensed, meaningful way of dealing with government is render unto Caesar what is Caesar and unto God what
Mhm.
is God's. Like you can't, like that says
Yeah.
everything you will ever need to know about relating to government for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. It's
Yeah.
super condensed.
Yeah. And I used okay, because I've always been told this thing about how it's, it's very layered and you can read it a million times because there's always
Yes.
a different layer. But I used to think that was about being smarter, but now I'm seeing that it's about being more open.
Yeah.
And the refrain of let he who has ears hear, like the amount of times that that's repeated in the Bible, like suddenly
Yes.
stuck out as insane to me. Because it's probably the most pertinent. I don't know, like it's one of the keys. It's like the
One of the most
instruction for
repeated
it.
things Jesus says. Yeah.
Yeah. And it just makes more and more sense, like more helping me recognize that I have actually changed somehow through, you know,
Yeah.
being Christian and going to church and all the sacraments and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Clearly I've changed because I used to read this one way and I have ears to hear more than I did, but also making it clear that I don't also have, there's more that I'm not.
Yeah.
And okay, I don't know how, if you've ever, this is such a weird question, but so I had to have a conversation with my priest the other day because I suddenly got really wrapped up in like the Gnostic Gospels,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I was almost scared. I don't know. Like I was like, is this okay? Like, should I be reading this? I don't know. My baptismal name is Magdalena, so like after Mary Magdalene, and obviously patron saint of whores. No. But I knew that I had to choose that name, and obviously, I feel very close to Mary Magdalene in so many ways. But there are, so I was like, yeah, I don't know why I've been staying away from this, but and I don't really get the history of the church. I've been more and more. I've been thinking I should get to know this way better, and I should understand like what are these books, and why weren't they in the Bible, and how was the Bible actually? What is the Bible? Like I was suddenly just like, what
Mm-hmm.
is all of this? How was the church even formed in the first place? And I read that and the Gospel of Thomas, and then I was kind of like, whoa. So I talked to my priest, and I mean, he basically said, if you were a theology scholar and you'd read the Bible back to front many times and were very familiar with that and had more time in the church and stuff, I wouldn't have, obviously, like, I'm not going to forbid you from it, but I don't think you're quite ready there. Hold your horses. Kind of, he just said, do whatever you're going to do, but I think it'll confuse you and I think it'll
Such a priest answer.
Yeah, I think it would be more prudent to hold
Yeah.
off on that. But then, so because at the time, and I was really crazy, feeling so crazy at that time, like super under attack and just insane. Under attack sounds like such a Protestant thing to say, but like honestly, I did. But so I stopped. But at the time, there was a lot of, and my algorithm was like conforming to this idea so like vividly in front of my eyes. I couldn't believe it, that
Mm-hmm.
the church is like it's like a trap for your divine spark, and there's things that they're keeping from you. It's just like the government. They're just not trying to tell you stuff. Like basically like inching towards Gnosticism in a way that was making me not believe, not in the church, but in the way that I relate to the church. I have, I spend a lot of time involved with my church, so it's a big part of my life.
Yeah.
And there were like flashes of moments where I was like, I should just stop going to church. I should just stop going to church, and I should read the Gnostic Gospels, and I should like look into all of
Mm-hmm.
these different things that haven't like that are not part of that world. And it was really that was really insane. And then also one more thing, sorry,
No, you're good.
I realized how crazy the algorithm, no, how demonic
Mm.
the algorithm, like it's a thing, like whatever, algorithms, like that whole world of AI and the internet and social media and whatever's going on there that I really try and limit my exposure to. But anyway, before I read more and learned that it's way more complicated than I realized, I had a moment of real anti-Semitic sentiment.
Mm.
Not, I don't know. It was just not nuanced at all. I just was seeing some things and was responding in a very simple way that now I have
Yeah.
a lot more. There's more color there. But anyway, I was getting like tons of stuff, obviously, like as soon as you go down that rabbit hole, the
Yeah.
algorithm
Yeah.
conforms. But then I saw a post that was a quote by St. John Chrysostom
Mm-hmm.
that was, talking about how was on its face like very anti-Semitic. It was like talking about how the Jews,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I was it, and it like I snapped awake. I was like, oh, that's what it does. It
Yeah.
finds the way to grab you that will be the most um like I'm gonna go away from reading that. And if I hadn't have, woken up a
Mm-hmm.
bit, thinking, oh, I can have this sentiment that is not nuanced and quite, hateful, and I can come away from it feeling
Yeah.
good because I'm like listening to somebody that I should be listening to. It's actually
Right.
holy to feel
Yeah. Yeah.
this hateful. Oh gosh. Anyway, that was a lot. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's good. I was writing notes so I could follow the thread and the pieces. Because really, this is how, like, all of that, like everything you just said, I think for intuitive people and in general, this is how all thinking is, I think, is like
Mhm.
there's a thread. So you mentioned all these things like Gnostic, instabilities, tradition, algo, anti-Semitic, and then I'm writing other thoughts along with it because
Mhm.
there is a through line and there's a
Yeah.
connection.
Mhm.
There are always patterns, I think, for like any whole, like what you just said is a whole. It's like a cup.
Mhm.
You put it all together. It came all out.
Mhm.
We may not see it perfectly, but there's a unity
Mhm.
to it, which is why you even said it.
Yeah.
And
Right.
like the discernment is to like see the unity in it and then to relate to it properly. Like that's
Yeah.
wisdom, I think. And
Mhm.
so that's the first thing. But like so what I would say is there's a way in which this is a little bit of the piece that I've gotten with like a much older tradition like Orthodoxy. So for example, like in Protestantism, my own experience is that I always, especially somebody who is intellectually inclined and and wanted to figure things out and know things and how all that stuff fit together. I was just constantly trying to figure out what I thought about everything with church history. Like, I need to know this. I need to know this. How's this? And that's kind of what led me to Orthodoxy. But then once I got to Orthodoxy for a long time, like Mark D. Parker was talking about this recently in his stream, I feel like there were years where I just like chilled. Like, I just rested. It was just like, okay, like fine. Like, I'm just like, it doesn't matter. Like, I was just kind of like, I will just sit here in this and just accept it. And then even recently, kind of connected to what your priest was saying about the Gnostic Gospels, I've started delving back into theology and through conversations with Sam and Christology and things. And even like, I've said this a few times on live streams, is like, even when it comes to, like, say, the Council of Chalcedon, I think I probably lean more even like Miaphysitist Oriental Orthodox than even like Chalcedonian. That seems to make more sense to me, but yet I'm Orthodox. My kids became Orthodox. I'm just going to stay. Like, that doesn't really matter to me. I'm just going to stay here. But then, like, this is a little bit of the wisdom in sometimes not exposing yourself to stuff.
Yeah.
And even like reading things before you're ready, because now I've just discovered this new person, this like 5th, 6th century father called, I don't know if he's really a father, but his name is Leontius of Byzantium. And he talks about Chalcedon in a way that is very Chalcedonian, which to me feels like what I've always seen and intuited, which is like even more right. And so I'm like, well, like, and here's the thing is like, I just don't know what I don't know. And the world's a really big place. And so at some point, this is where, like, it's a little bit between a difference of being kind of like a mystical, wooey, new agey, like, who knows, man, it's all like, I'll just be whatever, versus like, at some point it's actually kind of an incarnational thing. You have to commit. You have to like, you have to be somewhere. You have to have a tradition. And I think all the great mystics kind of say that. And so like, you can't kind of stay in this a la carte, like, I'll just figure it out in my own isolated mind, Protestant land. Like, I don't think you can really do that. And there is a wisdom in restraining yourself from certain things at certain times, because it's not, there's two ways you can look at that, right? Or probably multiple ways, but you could look at that as like, oh, this is this coercive patriarchal structure that's trying to like culty control me and like not let me see certain things. Or you could think of it as like, or you could approach tradition like loving parents, or like G.K. Chesterton said, the democracy of the dead, who is just like a little girl who's like, I want to carry this big suitcase. And the parent is like, you're not ready for that. You can't hold that. You're not strong enough. Like, you're just not. Someday you'll be ready to carry that. And I think if I think largely about canonization of the Bible, this is my last thought about, well, I could also talk about algo, but like, of the canonization of the Bible, like I hear agnostics or just like secular people, or like Rogan will say this stuff sometimes, of just like, it's all within the frame of like critical theory power dynamics, of like, they chose all these things to control and manipulate it. And are some of those aspects going on? Yes. Like Sam Tiedemann and his Church Fathers things will talk about some of that. I don't doubt that all that happens, but I simultaneously have a faith, a trust in the sacramental body and tradition of the church, that even though it wasn't perfect and there was bad in it, and there's cope at the church level, like we were talking about earlier, there's also like wisdom and protection in that. That is the protection of the church, because like there's just a lot of things I don't know. The world is too big, and they're guarding you. The reason the Gnostic Gospels aren't in the canon is for a reason.
Yeah, that's what I think I understood after that conversation with my priest, that was like so, pastoral and loving, and like, I was like, oh no, he's not trying to, because that whole line of inquiry definitely stemmed out of the general, the Epstein files thing. I've known this forever, that's what's been going on. But the release of the files was strangely still jarring. When everyone's kind of like catching on, like, wait, what? Do you mean the world's been run by satanic pedophiles? Like, who to thank it? And I'm like, obviously I've been trying to say this for ages. You all thought I was insane. Anyway, I think that
Sorry, quick pause. Sorry,
yeah,
my daughter just popped out for a second. Just a second.
no worries. Let me go get a charger, actually.
We back.
Okay. What were we talking about? Oh, you were talking about Gnostic Gospels and stuff?
Yeah, I don't remember. We were talking about Gnostic Gospels and then tradition as like kind of protection.
Oh, I think I know where we. Well, I had said, after that conversation with my priest that I'm very glad I had, and he was very loving and helpful. I did understand. It's not that this is yet another institution that's trying to suppress knowledge and to control me and brainwash me and whatever. And then because this was during the aftermath of the release of the Epstein files, which I said, this, I known the facts of this stuff, but when everyone else is kind of catching up to this information, it was, and I've had really like gruesome stuff in my history that's related to child sexual abuse and stuff, and so it feels I guess closer to me, like I've been very close to that whole story. And so when it finally comes out, I mean, this is another like big temptation of mine, which I'm working on, is to be like, see, I fucking told you so, like to be so righteous, and that's so unhelpful. But I do feel like 100%, and I do think that there's you said a family, like a structure. I think it's also, you need a playground if you are going to be able to play, and you need a sand pit, you need a playground if you're going to be able to play. And actually, I remember you opening your last stream talking about, I don't know if it was your last one, it's the last one I saw, talking about playing and how you felt like you had kind of lost some degree of playfulness in your
taking too self-serious.
Yeah, and I think that that's actually really, I mean, it's very tied to my work, so I do a bunch of stuff, but one of them is I do art classes for adults that are based on the artist's way. I don't know if you've ever heard of.
I think I've heard of that, but I don't. Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, it's a book by this woman called Julia Cameron, who it was written in the late 80s, I'm pretty sure. And it's a 12-week course for, sorry, 1 second, I just got to get that date right. It was written, it was 1992. So yeah, it's a 12-week course, and the whole idea is kind of reigniting a spirit of play, like a way to reconnect with, it's called The Artist's Way, a spiritual path to higher creativity. And yeah, it's all about creative recovery. So people who are professional artists have done it, people who are just completely divorced from any kind of actual artistic practice, but are in a time in their life when they are looking for to reignite the spirit of play or whatever, have done it. And it's this kind of like cult, like very famous. A lot of people that I've started to work with on it are like, whoa, you just talked about it, and I just realized I had it on my bookshelf and I had no idea. Like, so many people have it on their bookshelf and have no idea, and so many people have started it and stopped it and whatever, but it really works. It's hard to explain. It's really useful. So it's a 12-week course, and so I do like a thing where it's mainly been groups of like girlfriends that just want a excuse to get together every week. And so I do abstract, like drawing and painting with them, and then for half of it, but it's kind of combined. And then we also do a check-in on the artist's way, like how it's going for them. But yeah, I just like that, recognizing like what high demand there is for adults wanting a way to re-engage with basically the dead child that they have left behind, who was always an artist in some way. And that term is, you know, most people, a lot of people are like, but I never drew, or I was never into art. It's like, that has nothing to do with it. It's a way of being. It's a state of being. But yeah, I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about that, and also how it's, I think, more widely affecting culture and stuff. And I feel like it's this almost invisible illness that many adult people don't realize. The thing that's actually wrong is your disconnection from that spirit of something like play.
Yeah, the inner child or whatever. You know, become like little children again.
Yeah.
But somehow wise as serpent and innocent as a dove. So it's kind of a, so yeah, I have lots of thoughts about that. I think the play is, it's kind of back to the whole non-dual thing, but I think about that, like even symbolism, you know, it's heaven and earth, day and night, order and chaos, gravity and levity, you know, like even the universe, it's a fractal pattern everywhere. Like you need density and seriousness and gravity, but you also need air. You need atmosphere. You got to have something to breathe. You need subtle bodies as well as harder bodies. It's the contrast that allows for being. And I think you definitely need that when it comes to play. But that's why people use the kind of Cohen-y term, like serious play. Like it's not just like frivolous, kind of consumeristic, somewhat mindless play, although you'll play with those boundaries a little bit within your play, you know, because I think you have to. And I think those things are important because it's it integrates even like the center fringe, right? Like you need the fringe.
Yeah,
which is the atmosphere, the levity, the play, as well as the center and the gravity. Because, and sometimes when the center becomes ossified and isn't like kind of like the Tao yin yang ish, it can become, and then if it's ossified and misaligned, it's not being renewed by the fringe, by the play, where it can recenter and correct it. Because sometimes you do need correction from the fringe, you know, you need salvation from outside the camp, all those things. And I think I very much agree with you that it's tied into what we were talking about probably a lot earlier. I can't even remember if it was before we started recording, but like getting with the program. Well, part of what the machine and the program and scriptedness and like even my beast with confessionalism is that it wants kind of that ossified, controllable, simple product, replicant, identical replicant thing. But that's antithetical to what it means to be human. Like what it means to be human in the image of God, I think, is to be an artist, is to be a creator. It is every person has a unique gift to the world. I can't remember where, somewhere George MacDonald said, like, God has, if we are images of God, and if God is revealing himself through our imaging of him uniquely and particularly in each human being, that's part of what the incarnation means, is that there's something about each particular person in the universe that God could not say without them. Like he can only say it through you. That's what you are. That's what it means to be made in the image of God. It's also very connected to my universalism, by the way, because you're killing a part of God if someone is damned. So just ignore that if that triggers you and it's a case you're not ready for and you don't want to carry it yet, you know, whatever.
No,
that's fine.
I think it makes sense to me. I wonder what it's, okay, my first question was actually, do you feel that you connect with your inner artist, or like, do you feel like you connect with it when you make videos? And then the kind of the other part was, because when I draw, which is my main work that I do, I when I'm flowing in that, I really do feel like God is working through me in a real way. Like I feel like I'm receiving. I feel like I'm in a conversation with
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's the best thing that there is. Like it's what I live for in a very. It's not happening all the time, but like
Mm.
for the most part, when and I wonder like what people who don't have it's an obvious one for me, it's
Hmm.
drawing. It's the most obvious one that there is, but for people who it can look so different. I think for some
Yeah.
people it's, I don't know, riding their bike or whatever. But
Yeah.
do you feel, I wondered if you felt that when you make
Yeah.
videos, and if and in any other sphere in your life.
So there, yeah. So a couple things. So I had a conversation. I think it's in one of my playlists. I think it's on Cassidy's channel. Do you know Cassidy Vanderkamp?
Mhm.
She's
Mm.
like one of the early. So like the whole
Oh, actually,
randos,
yeah, I do.
the
I
randos
what
term. That she's the one who
What?
coined that term back in the day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
But she's
remember.
like one of the OG, like really early randos. Close friend. She met her husband through TLC. Like so, it's
Wow.
fun.
Mm.
But she I had a conversation. I've had a few conversations with her on her channel, and one of them was on creativity. And she kind of asked me
Mm.
that because I don't particularly feel like a creative, but I think part of that is because of probably my limited imagination on what creativity is. Because I
Yeah.
think, and I'm trying to work through that. I'm trying to process that, like to even answer your question, because I actually just sent this to my son the other day, where it's this Carl Jung quote, and it says like, if the path before you is clear, you're probably on someone else's.
Yeah, I love that
It's
one.
just like this little, you can't see it, it's backwards,
Yeah,
but
I've
it's
always
very
really
in line with what I was just saying with that George MacDonald quote. Like like your unique gift to the world is your unique gift. It can't look like anyone else's. So I think it's so easy to say, because like to me, it's easier to say something like, oh, creativity is like writing, or it's drawing, or it's painting,
mm,
or it's making music. It's like all these clear categories of what it means to be creative.
yeah,
And that's what I was saying to Cassidy. I was like, I don't know. I don't think of my live streaming and videos as being creative. And she was just like, that's nuts.
yeah,
Because I think it is. And to answer your question, like I do feel that way sometimes. Like there's this old I think it's a movie. I'm forgetting the guy's name, but there's this old kind of evangelical Christian movie where there's a guy,
mm,
he's Scottish, I think, but he's a runner, and there's this line that he says from it that's famous, where he says like,
mm,
when I run, I feel God's pleasure.
mm.
And
I don't remember the movie, but I know that Joseph. I used to be really obsessed with Joseph Campbell, but he used to run as well. He was like a
uh,
college track and whatever, but he said a lot of stuff like that about running as well.
yeah, and I try to think of like, where do I most feel like what you were saying, like conversations with
Like a
God,
vessel.
talking to
I
God.
describe it. Yeah, like a vessel is how I would describe
Yeah, and almost that's probably where I feel most in a state of flow, which is kind of
it.
almost appearing manic to people,
Mhm.
because it really is like, and it probably kind of is. This is why I tell people like I don't
Yeah,
need drugs and
yeah.
psychedelics, and I make up terms like mosaic vision,
Mhm.
because it really is like, because like really what I'm seeing, and Peugeot talks about this really well in some term of faith, but he always uses the example of the cup. But like, to see the cup, in order to
Mm,
really see a cup, you're seeing the whole thing. And
yeah.
anytime you start describing it or breaking it down, and you're like, there's the handle, there's the,
Mhm.
like, you get into all the parts, but whenever when you lower down the level and you talk about the handle, you're not seeing the cup anymore, either in your
Right.
mind's eye or just focusing on it.
Mhm.
And so like, and that's what I'm trying to get at in mosaic vision. Usually whenever I'm talking about something abstract conceptually that I can't give
Mm,
you words for. Like I can't.
yeah.
I just see it. All I can do is
Mhm.
talk about pieces of the mosaic, And as I talk about pieces of the mosaic, hopefully like all of a sudden you will see it. Because like
Yeah.
I can't make you see it, and I can't explain it to you. I can't break it down. And it's even like the idea of like Christian deconstruction or something. I'm like, if you can deconstruct your faith, it was constructed. And this is like the
Yeah.
thing that I've never been able to deconstruct. Like I can't deconstruct it. I just see it. It just is, and I can't explain it to you.
Yeah. Oh, I've never heard you talk about mosaic vision, but I get it. I grok it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
oh, also great quote that comes to me a lot is, I've never read the book, but whatever book the word grok is actually from. So I read it first in a random fiction book that was referencing the science fiction book. But anyway, a line, I can't remember. But anyway, a line from the original book that like made the word up is all that groks is God, which I really chewed on for a while, because I also think grok is, I hate a little that it's become an AI thing, because I think the meaning of the word, as far as I feel it, is, there's a difference between getting it and grokking it. And that difference is like so subtle that there's no way of really explaining it, for me at least.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. But yeah, mosaic vision. And I also had a sense when you were just talking about how it's like, okay, this is so my feelings they're like, I do this a lot because it feels like textures. Like I'm always playing with textures of thought and stuff. And there's something about in that kind of vision, and the reason why it's hard to explain it, because you can't hold all the pieces at the same time enough to like translate into linear thought, something like that. But
yeah, propositionally you can't.
Yeah, and the way that it works, I think the way that I'm seeing it is that you're dealing with this one piece right now, and like God is holding something bigger. God is holding the rest of it, and you have to have the faith. It involves faith, that kind of thinking and seeing and
Fundamentally.
Yeah, it really does. And it literally is that, like that you're afforded the ability through faith and grace, I guess.
But what's so crazy about this is like there's that verse in Hebrews where it says like whatever doesn't come from faith is sin. And it's true. Like this, it's back to that Lilith quote, is like, but even the cup in that illustration, like you viewing this cup is faith. You just don't think it is because you're so familiar with it, and you're under such mind control of like objective reality, materialism, whatever, that you're just like, oh no, it's just a cup. This thing is just as mystical as anything you could ever talk about. You've just forgotten. And that's why, like, in a lot of the big fathers and people, like everything, all sorts of renewal is a kind of remembering. Like that's why, Grimm will be like, remember, embody. Like you have to forget. It's veiling and unveiling. You have to forget and remember to know properly. You have to forget what you think you know. Like all of First Corinthians, at some point on my channel, I kind of want to just go through the book of First Corinthians, because like all of it is, because I'm obsessed with it, and in St. Paul in it, it's just like such crazy non-dual mystical Christianity that and I love it so much, because he just says like if I had to summarize even what I call like incarnational knowing or personalist knowing, proper knowing, iconic knowing, it's from that line in 1 Corinthians 8 where it's like, if anyone thinks he knows, he does not yet know as he ought to know. But if he loves God, he is known by him. Like, that's it.
Yeah. Do you ever feel frustrated? And I only have maybe 15 minutes left.
Yeah, we can wrap up pretty quick. That's good.
Do you ever feel like the corner, well, I guess you have your niche in it and you belong to it in a very real way, but sometimes I consider like why I'm not. I'll dip in and out occasionally, but a lot of the time I don't feel compelled to like participate or be or even watch the videos and stuff. And some of it is frustration, being the kind of person that I am.
Mm-hmm.
Not that there's something wrong with the corner, like I just don't feel like I belong in that space necessarily. And a lot of it is because it's so much. This is gonna sound so stupid, but like it's so much talking and arguing on the level of like material reality that I
Yeah.
and even and even when discussing spiritual things,
Mm-hmm.
the discussions and arguments sometimes feel circular on the level of the names of things and the labels of things
Right.
and maybe I'm wrong and I honestly I did probably just like don't get a lot of it. I just like haven't read the right books and stuff, but there is a part of me that is like, oh, this isn't something I'm um it's not shiny to me at
Mm-hmm.
all. This
Mm-hmm.
conversation feels kind of yeah, yeah. Anyway, any
No,
thoughts?
I feel that completely, and I think you're right. Um, like even there are passages in the New Testament, like a few times where St. Paul tells us, do not get caught up in endless discussions about
Mhm,
genealogies and debates about
mhm,
words and that kind of thing. Like he says that
mhm,
explicitly. um, and to the degree that I participate, I do it in hope, but in the same way that you're talking about though, I do it in a kind of way that has faith and hope because I experience the same thing you're talking about, where I experience the same kinds of frustrations, where I'm like, we are not communicating. We're in ourselves tapping on the wall and we're really not. But like I have faith that like through that over time,
yeah,
we will and we'll get
yeah,
there. And sometimes I have to balance it. And thankfully my life is full and busy enough where I can't participate that much because if I allowed myself to be more involved than I am, the the kind of chaos of that and the frustration of endless discussions would probably
mhm,
really get to me and trigger my neuroses. Um,
yeah,
and honestly, a lot of it, like even though I like live streams and playing and stuff, I have to be, and this is even like how I've started to set up more boundaries. I have to be a little bit more strict about stuff because there's certain
mhm,
people and attitudes and ways of being that I can't let come on because I'm just like um I can't let that spirit in right now. There's a kind of wisdom because I don't have the capacity to handle it and deal with it properly right now, so I have to keep it out.
yeah,
Um and I don't have a lot of time to do this, but a lot of it, what I've started to realize through all of this, through me, and I don't know what this means for me in my life and my art and my creativity and live streaming, but I've been talking to PDK about it and stuff. I've kind of just realized that I'm kind of what I really care about is people, and that fits with my
mhm,
personalism. Like even all my ideas are ultimately at the end of the day, they're a means of an end to connecting with people and relationships. That's in a
mhm,
way where I'm a weird mix of masculine and feminine energies because I
yeah,
really like ideas and abstractions and I can
yeah,
play that game, but it's
mhm,
all it's all about relationship. I'm a very
yeah,
deeply empathetic, intuitive ways. Like often say like I'm much more feminine than a lot of the women that I know.
yeah, yeah.
And I
That's
and I'm very pastoral. So like I want to have these kinds of conversations. I want to know
mhm,
and be known. I don't want to just
mhm,
talk about ideas. Like if
yeah,
that's all it is, like even if somebody made the joke to me the other day on my live stream, they said like if somebody just like could we make Luke a political pundit or something, or like even doing Christian YouTube talking about ideas or
mhm,
going on like book tours and doing circuits and giving speeches, you couldn't pay me enough money.
yeah.
I would I would
That's
hate everything
true.
about it and I
Yeah.
would want to fight everyone.
Yeah, there's I felt called actually since the beginning of the conversation to say this, that when you were talking about like liking to talk to women, that sounds so bad, but I don't. Just that like I sensed always, and I do in Autumn, in my husband, like a distinct, because they are energies. I think that's also something that gets
Mm-hmm.
a bit lost, or it's not emphasized enough. And when we talk about like feminine and masculine and male and female, that like male and female are concrete categories, but masculine and feminine energies are completely
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
It's like
And they
a
blur.
completely
Yeah.
and yeah, I've always been very interested in that interplay. Like, I mean, back when I was like studying yoga and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
is quite, it's emphasized, it's clearer in that context. I think a lot of the waters are muddied with, especially, I was into politics for a second, and became like conservative, and just the
Mm-hmm.
gender discourse.
Yeah.
Actually, it was probably worse on the other side too, because I was like radically that way too, and it's like
Uh-huh.
it has nothing to do with anything. But anyway, um, oh, what was I saying? What was I saying?
You
We
felt
were
called to
talking.
say something.
Oh no, just that I felt like a very interesting, or should I say, like specific balance of masculine and feminine energy in you that is I don't even know. I don't have the authority to say this. I don't know why I feel like saying it, but like that is uniquely like archetypically shamanic,
Hmm.
and I think it's the specific balance of masculine and feminine energies that denotes that signature. I don't know sometimes why I say the things I say, so I can't explain it, but that feels correct to me. That
I
there's
mean, that
something.
resonates with me. I've always, um, I've actually spoken about that at times in the corner. Like, I feel like there's different kinds of thinkers. One of them is kind of like a normie, kind of get with the program, regurgitator, like where they just like they're told this and they do it, and they're just kind of like the way that I think about them. It's the world needs people like this, and it's fine. And sometimes they're like what I call smart dumb. Like they're people that seem to be intelligent that are really thriving in business and careers and whatever, and like really smart scientists, but they're just like,
Mhm.
but really like to me, you're not thinking, you're just like regurgitating information and
Yeah.
using it to manipulate the world. So like that
Mhm.
that's so it's like a regurgitative thinker. And then there's like
Mhm.
integrative thinkers, which I think are the people who I think of PBK is this a lot, who are
Mhm.
able to they can like they mediate between heaven and earth. So they
Yeah.
like can dip
Right.
into the ethereal, subtle, spiritual, symbolic stuff and
Mhm.
bring it down for regurgitative thinkers to be able to integrate. That's why they're
Mhm.
integrative thinkers. And then there's like shamanistic thinkers, like the people who are like it's the creatives, it's the poets, it's the Jordan Peterson said it's like people who are doing such high level pattern recognition that there's
Yeah.
almost no medium to communicate it. Peugeot
Yeah.
is this way. Both Peugeot
Yeah.
brothers are this way. Although Mathieu
Uh-huh.
can communicate it in like more, he's a little more autistic-y, so he can communicate it that way.
Right.
Um, and I've always related to that where like um, I don't know. Like I think the things that I'm saying are real and like connected to what you've been saying. There are times I feel such conviction and passion about the stuff that I think and say, and I think it's so important.
Yeah.
This is where I can get really self-serious and take myself too seriously, and then like when people don't get it, like I just like that's one of the things that happened. I was talking about on my stream with Nick. Like I can flame out with people because I'm just like, damn it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Jesus, like, how long have I been with you and you still don't know who I am? Like, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Like, how long do I need to talk about stuff? But
Yeah.
that
And
seems arrogant to even say that.
I get that. Do you ever give well, okay. So some of the things I found I struggle with, and people that I recognize this in also struggle with is like feeling like you're not doing enough, feeling arrogant or self. The thing I was talking about before about feeling like solipsistic and self
Mm-hmm.
involved. And the not doing enough is tied to like resting and like whatever the value of rest. I'll talk about that more. But anyway, not doing enough, feeling arrogant and solipsistic. There was a third one. I can't remember. Oh, and also that I do feel really strongly that part of the job of that third type of person that you were talking about is actually to like not do anything. Like part of the job is to kind of like stay alive and hold an energy stable. So you're actually
I have to
doing a
play
lot
this for my wife.
you're actually doing a lot by just, and I need to also remember to like tell my husband this because sometimes I forget. That's true. I do get I have a very strong feeling that that's a big part of it. It's just like holding space sounds so silly, but not in any active way. Just it's like you're a cell tower or something. You're you're a vessel through which energies move and are transmuted. And that actually means that the more you're trying to like do, the more you're getting in the way of what's supposed to be done through you. And I always like the prayer that I pray more than any other is like I say, God, thank you for getting me out of your way. And I think that it's so hard though, because it actually takes it's the kind of work that'll like never be rewarded or understood or anything. But maybe that's the work actually, is standing. There's a last thing I'll say. There's a Toni, probably not, but I'll try. There's a Toni Morrison quote that is kind of related. It feels related right now. That she says, I stood on the outside. I stood on the margins and claimed them as center and let the rest of the world move over to where I was. That I think speaks to that same feeling, tone, texture.
Yeah. Yeah, that resonates. And thank you for just saying whatever you said, even though it feels weird. I feel like that's very helpful for me because because to the Toni Morrison quote, I think that's somewhat of a, and to what you were just saying, it's maybe a kind of weird vocation and calling in life. Which can, whatever. I know this is going to sound like some bullshit to people if we ever release this, but whatever. I am like probably in terms of being a contrarian, like even a big five temperament stuff. Like one of the traits is agreeableness, and that breaks down into compassion and politeness. Those are the two subcategories of agreeableness. And my agreeableness is pretty, I think it's like, I don't know, I think it's 33rd percentile or something, like averagey for a man. But the subcategories are 88th percentile compassion and first percentile politeness.
Yeah, I would be the same.
So like in a room, which makes me think of like things you've said about Adam, like in social settings and groups of like where he, like I am more comfortable than anyone in a room saying the uncomfortable thing.
Yeah, same.
But yet it's coupled with that like really intense compassion, so it moderates that a lot. And so like I'm very contrarian. Like you put me in any, so like in the Toni Morrison court, like standing on the perimeter, if you put me in any group of people, any group, like you put me around a bunch of politically liberal people, I will seem like a hyper conservative. If you put me in a group of conservative people, I will seem like a flaming liberal. You put me, like I convert to Orthodoxy and I become Orthodox, I feel Orthodox and I feel like a super Protestant. You know, and you put me around a bunch of Protestants and I'm just, and I feel like a crazy heretic, you know, Orthodox sacramentalist.
Yeah, it's like a modulation function. I really do feel this. It's like I mean, I feel the same way. Like I'm just plopped into places to like bring it back into balance by being the
Yeah.
thing that's missing, kind of.
Yeah. Be the contrast.
Yeah. Oh,
And
what a
it's
thankless job, though.
it's uncomfortable as hell.
Yeah.
But yet I don't know how to be any different. Like I
Me
don't know if you've ever
neither.
gotten into Enneagram. Like
Oh
I'm
yeah.
a
I know you're 4. That makes
yeah, so
sense.
like I'm a 4 and I don't and that really resonates because like I
Mhm.
don't if I didn't feel weird, I wouldn't feel
Mm.
like me.
Do you ever feel like it can be, um, like, what's the far end of that that you have to work on? Is there one that you have to work on, like, tempering?
Yeah, not feeling uh self-righteous or self-serious
Yeah,
in being the unique one.
yeah,
Not feeling
yeah.
so special.
Yeah, like, the word normies, I've almost had to, like,
Yeah, it's condescending.
just temper my yeah, because it does but oh, it's just, I guess we get our rewards in heaven, but, yeah, there really is no reward for just, like, walking in places and pissing everyone off
No, no, no,
for
no,
what
no.
seems
Yeah.
like it seems like fun or sport to the people around you. Because I so many times I feel like people are just like, "Well, but can you just, like, stop?" Like, how easy would it be for you to just not say that? Um, and I'm
Pretty
like,
hard
"Actually,
actually.
it's actually not it's like, this is about my soul." Like, I'm trying to
Yeah.
explain.
Yeah, I think
Um,
people don't get that where it's just like, how easy would it be to just not say that? And you're just
mm,
like, so like completely mask who I am.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like my wife
Which actually sorry.
well, no, we're both wanting to talk. My wife told me once, and this has been helpful to me because she's so like just being married to her, having her be so different has been helpful to me because as the person I love more than anyone in the world, having that like stark difference
Mhm.
is good because I'm just like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm not like something very other than me is beautiful and wonderful, you know?
yeah.
So that makes me, but then, um, the, damn it, I forgot even the other thing and I interrupted you to say it. So
Oh gosh, no, I probably can't remember. I was gonna say something. It was a good one. What were we talking about just before you started talking? You said your wife is the modulation function. Nobody. It's a thankless job.
yeah, like walking into a room, pissing all over everything. Oh, that was the thing that my wife
Oh,
told me before I started
okay.
congratulating her. Sorry.
Let me write
We
mine
both
down. So
remembered. We both remembered at the same
um,
time.
you you say yours, and I'll write mine down so I don't remember. I
Okay.
don't forget.
How gracious of you. I remember she's told me once because I can't when I'm excited, I can be very talkative. Like if you put me in a room of a bunch of just like polite Minnesota
Mm-hmm.
small talk things, like I will seem like an extreme introvert because I'm just like, who
Mm-hmm.
cares? But and I've learned to even moderate that. But she said, Luke, just because you think something doesn't mean you have to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can just think it
Struggle with that.
and then just like keep, filter it. But filtering it feels so much like lying, doesn't it?
It does feel like lying. It does
Yeah.
feel like lying. A lot of the time to me, and I have exactly the same criticism a lot. People saying, um, well, like there's a mechanism in the world that works through people that is trying to like shame that out of the people that feel the need to do it. I don't
Yeah.
know exactly how to explain it, but it's like there's this unspoken, even if no one tells me, like sometimes people are honestly just like, "Oh boy, like shut up, like you're just talking too much and it's too much. You didn't need to say that. You're making
Mhm.
um, the people at the dinner table uncomfortable." Um, but I do think that there's this also unspoken kind of just underlying current of like it's better, it's more virtuous to be kind of reserved and um, like mysterious almost in a way, and
Yeah.
that you are supposed to keep. keep like family business in the family, and um, keep the details of things.
Yeah. Don't rock the
Keep,
boat,
yeah,
keep the
don't rock
status
the boat,
quo.
and that there's something kind of aristocratic and virtuous about
Yeah.
this way of being. That, like, so sorry, but I'm not American, so I don't really get this trope. But like the Kool-Aid man, is that the thing that
Yeah.
bursts through the walls? Like,
Busting
that's
through the
how I
wall.
feel a
Yeah.
lot of the
Yeah.
like, truly. And it's just by saying something that was like, so, I mean, almost, I don't know where the lines are actually between like autism and ADHD, but sometimes I do feel like I just say something that's obvious to me, and everyone around me is like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you just
Yeah,
said that."
blurt
Or
it out. Yeah. My
yeah,
priest
stuff.
surprisingly called me like in a casual conversation, but because like that came up. I was talking to a couple guys at church and they were just like small talking. And then I came up and started talking about
Mhm,
something not small talk.
mhm,
And then my priest came over. He's like, "Oh, what do you guys talk about?" And then one of the guys just essentially said that, like, "Oh, we were just having
mhm,
casual conversation." Then Luke came and started doing whatever. And my priest was like, "Yeah, that's
mhm.
because he's autistic."
Interesting.
And I was
I
just
mean,
like, it's so, because I really don't think I'm autistic. Like I'm definitely neurodivergent in some kind of a way.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I have a
but
really good book actually that you
yeah,
should read, which
okay,
completely blew apart the definitions that I had in my mind about what that even means.
okay,
Um, I'll send it to you. I have the like EPUB or PDF, whatever. I download
yeah,
all my books. So I'll send it to you. I think it's called Neurodivergent Mind, but it was
okay,
really helpful. And I'm in this constant struggle with, because I think it limits our ability to talk about the way that we are and find
yeah,
commonality, these labels. Because it's like,
yeah,
no, I don't think I'm autistic. I can speak. And it's like, no, because I have an idea in my head
right,
about autistic people are.
yeah.
Um,
Well, it's the blurting thing, but then also like I'm highly emotionally attuned to
yeah, and
like,
socially,
yeah,
like, competent, I think.
yeah,
Also, like, I know I'm socially competent. I don't think I miss the social cues. I think I have a strong impulse to ignore them
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
the time.
100%.
I know that they're
That's another
there.
thing. I'm writing down something I got to share with you too. I have a whole
Um,
list. We can just share each other.
okay, but the thing I was gonna say before was that, so one of the exercises I do with like a lot of the people that I work with as an ADHD coach is this like tiny, basically make to undo masking, because we don't even realize we've done it for so long, we don't even know when we're doing it. So one thing, well, the only way I've found is to make tiny changes in social environments. So if you're sitting on the bus and you're um, sitting with both your feet on the ground, and it would actually be more comfortable to kind of like bring one of your feet onto the chair and have your knee up. Or if
Mm-hmm.
um, you feel cold, but or you feel hot, but you're not wearing a bra. It's stupid, but you feel cold, but you feel hot, but you're not wearing a bra, so you don't want to take your sweater off, because
Mm-hmm.
then it might be. But then you just do it. You just make the most tiny micro adjustment you can make um, in social situations, just to practice, and then slowly that grows into actually saying what you mean in conversations, and actually walking out on small talk. And yeah, the one other thing I was going to say, oh, because okay, so the point of that was reversing that. I think if you go the other way, then it's clear that those small things people are saying all the time, like, how hard would it be to just not do this? How hard would it be to not? It's like
Mm-hmm.
death by a thousand cuts. Like, actually, that's exactly what got me here, to this
Yeah.
place where I don't even know who I am, and I don't know what I'm like. I don't know what I believe, and I don't know what I mean, and I don't know when I'm masking. And masking is a kind of real harm. And I
Yeah.
hate using kind of new, like, pop psychology language, but actually it
Masking's a good
is,
one, I
yeah,
think.
masking is a real thing. And if in fact it works, which I've proven time and time again it does, to slightly modulate your behavior incrementally through micro changes that make you feel more comfortable then the other one is also true. So the reverse is also true. So yeah, it's a big deal that I sit differently or don't say that thing, or
Yeah.
you know, it is sacrificing something for me, and it's very difficult to, especially as a child, to like to
Hmm.
know this. Oh, anyway, sorry,
Yeah.
you were gonna say something.
No, I think that's no, that's all good. I think how do you feel? I think we should maybe just
Yeah, we can end
cap it
soon.
off because you said about 50 minutes. We've done 2 hours,
I
and
know.
I I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I can't commit to anything because of my life, but also I've never done recurrent things, but I enjoy talking to you for all the reasons that we discussed in here, and I think it's a lot of fun. It's this is part of the struggle that I have with just like mainly talking to dudes, because like um I don't like it. Like really, like my wife makes fun of me because I'm kind of like all I want to do is hang out with women all the time. Like
Mm-hmm.
even we were at like a patio once and there was this women's book club and I was just like I was just like eavesdropping
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, oh, I want to be in this women's book club so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are just especially, and you're kind of like this, most of the women in the TLC are like this. Like they have the great feminine aspect of all those things that I love, but then they also have a capacity to talk about ideas at a pretty
Yeah.
high level, which I
Mhm.
also enjoy and is fun. But anyhow, this was great. You
Yeah,
can let me
I'd love to do it more. Also, it doesn't have to be often, but anything that's recurring, I don't know if that's the right word, but it helps me with my ADHD brain to do things on a, you know, like
to repeat.
to repeat, um, rather than just as soon as it's let's talk again sometime soon. It's like off. It's in the wind. It's never coming
Right.
back. Kind of
This
thing.
is yeah. Neil makes fun of me, like in the corner, Neil Daedalus, because he told me once privately, but I've brought it up before, that he says that I'm very because to him the corner is about friendship and relationships, and I agree that's part of my personalism. But then he's like, "You're I mean, my interpretation of what he said is I'm kind of I'm a friendship relationship slut because I'm just like because I want to be like because I like everyone so much and I want to be everything to everyone that
Yeah,
I'm
I
very
get that.
committed to people in my own local life, but virtually it's been hard for me to I don't know if it's a people pleasing thing because like people reach out and they want to have conversations and this is so rare. Like I drop so many of these. People will just be like, we should talk about something. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And it never happens.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I guess I'm the opposite that well, I don't it's not that been that many people and I've talked to all of you like Paul and Graham and stuff like I but I do feel this sometimes just like I can't help it. I just have to send an email and see if they will talk to me and it will be like one moment in a conversation that I'm listening to that I'm just like, oh, we have to talk. Um that I guess I'm a relationship slut in that way, not in that way at all, but in a, like yeah, it can get misconstrued really easily, I think,
yeah.
especially between like men and women. Like I honestly feel like more of in this um like the neurodivergent, however we want to term this, we got to find a word,
Mm,
honestly, because I'm just like done with this saying neurodivergent or highly sensitive and then having to do
mhm.
10,000 caveats. Whatever it is, I feel like it's a weird, um, like sibling feeling of, I feel like I'm finding slowly. Actually, yeah, and in my real life too, very much people that are part of my family in a weird way. Um, and most of these people feel exactly this way. They're like, yeah, I can't
Mhm.
do small talk. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't do small talk is usually the first signal of like, oh, okay, tell me more. But I just remembered, sorry, one more thing that so we
Yeah.
should, yeah, we can talk on email and whatever, but I think we should
Yeah.
definitely, if you would want to do this more, like, right, it can be every month or 2 months or 3 months, whatever, but like
Yeah.
to do it more regularly. But just okay, last thing, the quote I forgot to tell you from the Gospel of Thomas. Did I tell you this? The one that's like, if you let me get it exactly.
Is it the
Sorry.
man woman one?
No, it's
There's a
about
weird like if the woman does something, she is a man, and if there's like there's weird
oh,
quotes.
that's also interesting. But no, it's
Yeah.
if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you.
Love it.
Yeah.
100%.
So on that note.
That's a great. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, I'm gonna stop
Okay.
the
Cool.
recording, and then this computer is so slow, it's ridiculous. Okay, ending.